Hey guys, we woke up this morning and saw what was going on in the news in Minneapolis, and we're very disturbed and saddened and sorry about what's happening.
What's disturbing is that we actually recorded an episode last night where we talked about this whole George Floyd situation, and we thought we're gonna post it today, and then we woke up this morning and all these other things are happening. The protest, the burning of the police station,
The arrest of the CNN crew.
yeah, now they've been released and the governor is, I guess, apologized for doing that. They obviously showed their credentials first. This is very disturbing time.
Trump's tweets.
Yeah, Trump is treating that basically once the looting starts, the shooting starts. So there's no question that this episode is necessary. This is what we had a burden on our hearts. We decided not to record our normal, usual, fun relationship episode. And it was because we couldn't not do that. We just had this strong feeling that with what's going on, we have to say something. And then last night, we saw that everyone else is feeling the exact same thing.
Yeah.
So
Stay with us as we talk about this situation, these issues.
Join the conversation with us. And anyway, see how it goes.
All right, let's do this.
Yeah. Welcome to Just John and April, the relationship podcast. Today we don't have many laughs, but we will be talking about something a little bit more serious. We hope that you are in a good place right now as you think about what's going on in our world. April and I really wanted to take some time to kind of come out of our normal conversation to talk about something else that's going on. Obviously, it's relationship related. Not necessarily, marital, right, but it's still on that topic. On Monday of this week, we got news about the killing of George Floyd in Minneapolis, Minnesota. There was a police officer that had his knee on George's neck. George was saying he could not breathe. There were people around who were taking the video that were saying the same thing, kind of pleading with the police officer. There were 3 other cops who were right there and allowed it to happen. And later on that day, George Floyd was pronounced dead at the hospital. And that kind of changed things for us this week. We had some other things in mind that we wanted to do. And that was one thing that we could not ignore. I think what makes it so hard is that Ahmaud Arbery just had his situation in February, the end of February 23rd, something like that. Yeah. He was killed as well by 2, I guess these guys were residents of a particular neighborhood. They saw a black man running through there and assumed he was someone who was robbing one of the houses, and they got their guns. The father and son. The father, I believe, was a retired police officer. And so we were already sort of up in arms over that. Right. And then this thing happens, and here we are again, wondering to ourselves, when will the lives of black men actually be as important as the lives of other men?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so this is very tough. It's a difficult situation, but we felt like we needed to talk about it and discuss it. Maybe for our own catharsis, to be honest with you. There are some things we deal with internally that sometimes talking about it just gets it out and helps. So maybe that'll be a help for us. Maybe it'll be a help for you too. I don't know. We're not trying to bash anybody, but we want to take this time to just speak truth about what's going on from our vantage point, Definitely. The way that we feel. So, babe, I just want to know from you, what did you feel this week as you heard the news about George Floyd? What went through your mind? What kinds of things were you dealing with feelings-wise? And how are you doing now?
Well, I immediately, my stomach turns.
Yeah.
I mean, it happens every time I hear about this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
My stomach just turns. I mean, and I think about my black son.
Yeah.
Who, he's growing up thinking everything's fine, and it's not.
Right.
in our world.
Right.
You know, and I just, I hate that we are living in this kind of predicament. So as a mother, it breaks my heart.
Yeah.
It really does. And I was just thinking about, you know, what this country was founded on.
Yeah.
I mean, and I watched this show. We both watched this show, and the setting is in the 1700s. And, there was just this one episode where, they showed slaves on the plantation and everything. And as I was looking at that, I just thought about it. And I said to myself, because we were watching this week after we had heard what had happened, and I just said to myself, this is ingrained in our society.
Yeah.
It is something that is deep rooted.
Yeah.
And we have to intentionally go in and take it out.
We do.
Almost like someone who has deep-rooted childhood traumas.
Yeah.
And they have to go to a therapist, and they have to get that thing out. They have to get it out. They have to know that, what happened in the past was a horrible thing, and that, they have to talk it through and go through years of therapy
to really get over it.
And I think that that's what our country needs to do.
Right.
We got to get to the root.
Yeah.
And as long as we continue to pour, water on that root and allow it to grow, as long as we do that with these situations and letting people get away with things like this and acts like this, continues to grow that deep-rooted teaching from way back then.
Yeah.
So that's what I have been dealing with this week, just thinking about that. And, and it's very hard because, I feel like, I'm just going to be frank here, people who aren't black, may feel attacked or blamed. And I want to say, it's not about that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's not about that. It's about us coming together as a people and saying that something is wrong. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We need to get over this idea of, well, I don't want to feel blamed, or I don't want to feel attacked, or that's not what's happening. What we want you to do, and others who may not be in our position as black people, to stand up and say, this is wrong.
Yes. Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because when that happens, it's more powerful.
Yes.
I
agree. Now, there's so many things wrapped up in that, though, these days, and there's a lot of people that want to make this more complicated. They want to make it into something political, or if I take a particular stand, people are going to label me a certain way. And so I think people need to strip all that stuff away and just look at it for what it is and say, if this was happening to my family member, let's say I'm a white person and this happened to my family member, I would be fighting to make sure that the right thing was done, that the people who did this actually paid for their crime.
Exactly.
That they didn't just get away with it, that it wasn't swept under the rug. You know what I'm saying? I feel like it's a lot easier when it's a person that doesn't look like you that this is happening to, for you to just disregard it and make it like it's no big deal, because they're not like me. And I actually feel like that's one of the bad things about the way in which we characterize people. The way I want to say people are like a caricature that we used to sort of put them into a particular category. And when we do that, it makes us feel better about the decision we make that it's going to affect them. So we dehumanize a person. We make it so that they're them and it's us against them.
Right.
And automatically, because we're in those camps, we feel more comfortable with not bringing a person to justice. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's a bad thing. And I like your metaphor, though. I feel like you're right. If this country, if this country is founded on racist beliefs, because if you really think about it, the enslavement of another people group on the backs of which the wealth of this country was made. So let's just call it what it is.
Yes, it's true.
The United States is as wealthy as it is as a country because of the hundreds of years of slavery that made
the
the
only
ability
way.
to make money.
It's the only
It's-
way.
when you go back and look at
Yeah.
it, that's how. That's
And-
how
and-
this country is
yeah.
wealthy. My point is that is the sentiment and the principle on which it's the foundation on
It
which this
is.
country was built. So what I'm saying is what April said earlier is what we have to realize, what we have to grapple with. If we just keep on going on as if nothing is wrong, if we sweep things under the rug, if we don't actually confront these bad things that are happening, what ends up happening is the underlying root problem that was never dealt with just continues to fester. And the way that it comes out is in these situations where black men are being gunned down in the street or killed by people who are supposed to be protecting them. And then sometimes, in many instances, they're getting off without any kind of problem. Now, in this situation, these 4 officers were fired, and I applaud the police department there in Minneapolis, Minnesota, for a great start.
Right.
But
start.
But that's all it is, a great start.
Yeah.
Those 4 need to also be prosecuted.
They do.
They need to be.
They do.
And let a jury make a decision, and they need to be on trial for murder.
Yeah.
Okay?
Right.
That would be the right thing to do in the situation. And I'm saying if we take it away from all of the political stuff, all of the back chatter, whatever this is that comes between sides and all that stuff, and just look at it for what it is, that's what it is.
And if we would really be real with ourselves, and I'm talking about everybody.
Yeah.
If there was a black man, a black police officer, or any black man who had his knee on a white man's neck, there wouldn't be no discussion.
No discussion at all. We would not be doing a podcast on it. We probably would still because it'd be the opposite.
But I'm just saying the black man would have been arrested immediately.
Yes.
There would be no discussion there.
That's right.
And I'm saying that is where justice is not being served.
Correct.
This is what I mean when I say, and you know, and I hate that it's like, you know, black men are scary and going, you know, are people are, they're feared.
Yeah.
And I mean, we have to see human as human.
Right.
You know,
Yes.
there are white men, black men, Hispanic men, you know, Asian men. There are all kinds of men and women who do bad things in this world.
Right.
We know that.
Yes.
But you can't just put people in these categories and treat them as if they're all a certain way. I'm just saying, I don't think it's right.
Part of it has, a lot of it has nothing to do with what you've seen in your own experience.
Right.
It starts
What's
with
been portrayed.
the way it's portrayed in the media and things like that.
And that's really what I mean when I say what's been seen.
Yeah.
Is what has been portrayed.
That's right. Yes.
Media,
Yes.
movies, it's
Yes.
everywhere.
Yes.
We all know different ways that black people are seen in a negative.
Negative ways that we are portrayed in the media
on
and
purpose
things
is what
like
I'm
that.
saying.
Right.
Portrayed,
Yes.
you know, purposely portrayed in
Yes.
these negative ways
Yes.
to keep, and I know people say this, but to keep the black man down. I mean,
Right.
and really,
Yeah.
it is. It's to
Right.
keep you, and not necessarily down all the way anymore.
Right.
But down to a certain level where you don't need to get higher than
We
this.
are not
you know,
equals.
Right.
Don't think that you're equal to me, the majority.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying everybody feels that way because I know they don't.
No.
I'm not saying all white people
Right.
feel this way because we know that they don't.
Let's make that distinction right now so we can make it clear, because
Yes.
here's the thing. The reality is we started by talking about the foundation on which this country was built, because what we're trying to say is there is a system that's in place.
That's what I'm talking
that
about.
is
I'm talking
really
about the
set
system.
up
Yes.
to make it so that the only people that can really thrive and prosper are the majority group.
Right.
That's basically how the system is set up. And the ones that taste any kind of success that the majority tastes are the ones that find a way to assimilate and be accepted by the majority. If there's in any way that you're different from the majority group, then you are not able to ascend to the same level or the same heights. That's the way the system is set up. So here's what I'm saying, and this is what April's saying too,
Yes.
and that is that all of us, especially Christian people, who believe that Jesus came to make us equal, that in Jesus Christ there's neither Jew nor Greek, slave nor free, male nor female, right? We're all one in Christ Jesus.
Right.
Especially us. We're supposed to be the ones who speak out against these oppressive systems.
Yes,
So
yes.
by speaking out, we're not saying that every single person of that hue automatically feels the same way. But what we are saying is that if we're not speaking up, we're actually part of the problem.
Yes.
If we're not doing something to fight against that issue, we're part of the problem. That's it. We can't be complacent here and expect that means, oh, I'm fine. I'm not a racist, so some of my closest friends are black. That means really nothing in this situation.
Right.
We need to be speaking up and speaking out and doing things to fight against the systems of oppression that are set up in our world right now. And there are many of them, and they are evident, and we can see them. And I think this situation right now with George Floyd exacerbates and further exposes the issue that we're dealing with in our country. And I think it takes sometimes multiple things like this to happen for certain people to wake up and say, wow, there really is a problem.
Yeah.
Because if it happens just every so often, maybe you could say, that's just a one-off. But dude, this is happening like every other week now.
I mean, really, like how I feel like for this to be February with Ahmaud, and then now May with George, I'm like, that is too close. And not even that.
And they're happening, more things are happening in between there. We're just talking about those because those have gotten the most national attention, but many things have happened in between there.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
And I want to say that when we say we want the majority to speak out, okay?
Let's just say when the majority speaks up against injustice, no matter who it happens to,
exactly,
that's when it's most powerful.
Yes, when the majority speaks, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Okay, so but what I want to tell people is that when we say this, some people think it means. Because I think some people do want to speak out, but they don't know how. I think some people do want to speak out, but they're afraid of the way that their friends will see them.
Yes.
Okay? Yes. Or the way that their job will see them,
yes.
Their boss or their colleagues.
Yes.
And I think that you don't have to get out on a mic and yell out, because that may not be something that you can do. Or
you don't necessarily have to organize a protest.
That's not what I'm talking about. But I think that's what comes to mind. Like I have to be,
That's what we need.
Yes.
It's about just not being silent.
It's just about not being
That's
silent.
it.
I have some friends who are pastors who are not black, and I'm like, get up in your pulpit and talk about how this is not right.
Right.
I mean, and that's something that's not being done, and I want to know why.
Right.
I want to.
Well, I know why.
Please explain that to me.
Why
would you not say something from your platform?
Yes.
Whether it be on Facebook, Instagram, if you have a lot of followers, you might be somebody who could say, I'm really angry about this. This is wrong.
Right.
Period.
Yes.
Or, up front at a church where you are able to say, we need to pray for this family.
Right.
Or these people who are going through this injustice.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, why is that not happening?
It's a simple statement, but I think there is one basic reason. You already touched on it, and that is fear of what my speaking up is going to do. That's really all it is. If I'm worried about my job, if I'm worried about whether or not I can ascend higher in the ranks, if I'm worried about making sure I appease my members, there are many different people that could have a problem with things that I say. And so if I get up and say the wrong thing, if I'm worried about what people are going to say, then that's going to make me say, you know what, I'm going to pretty much stay safe. Yeah. I'm going to basically speak up when I know the majority has a problem with something. But when I'm not sure and things are divided, even if it's clear to me biblically, I'm not going to say anything because, you know what, I don't want to further divide people. Well, you know what? People are looking to you to be the leader. They're looking for leadership. Our members, our people in our churches, the people around us, the community, they're looking to see, what is that church going to say?
Yeah.
How are they going to react? They're not even sure how to think about certain things. And they're trying to figure out, what does the pulse of our community say about this? And maybe that's how we should be thinking. So stop thinking about this in terms of, what are people going to say? What group are they going to put me in? No, you're a leader. Lead. Yeah. Stand up and say something. And guess what? You don't even have to say anything new. Just say what the Bible said.
Right.
Jesus taught that we should stand up for those who are oppressed.
Exactly.
That's why Jesus came. That's what he says. It's that simple. All you got to do is read a couple texts. And afterwards say, I didn't say it, Jesus said it. Don't even take the credit.
Right.
It's not that hard.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, I don't think we can really be what God wants us to be if we just stand in the background and stay silent when it's obvious that injustice is happening.
Exactly.
And let me just commend I want to commend my conference president, by the way, who's white. I want to commend him right now. Bill Miller's his name. And he has a book that he has us reading right now. It's called Protest and Progress by Calvin Rock. It is basically a book that talks about sort of the way that the church and black people have interacted for, I don't know, the last 50 years or so, and really good history. And we have to have these discussions in our groups. And so a group of pastors were discussing. I lead our group, and we had a discussion the other day. There were a few black people in there. We have Indian, we have Hispanic, we have Brazilian, we have Asian, all in this same group, different pastors, a white pastor. And we had a very good discussion. What I thought was a very good discussion. It was open. It was not contentious in any way. We all shared the different experiences that we've had with racism in the church and things like that. And I thought it was a good starting point.
Yes.
And I thought that Bill Miller's courage to say, we're going to read this book as a conference is what started that. And here's what I'm really saying, and I'm going back to the metaphor you used earlier. I almost said it earlier, but I didn't get back to it. And that is, you said that if I had trauma early on in my life, it would take me going to a therapist and talking about it to work that thing out. Now, the question is, how are we ever going to get past this? How are we ever going to get over this? How are we ever going to get around it, through it? How is it ever going to be something that doesn't haunt us if we can't even talk about it?
Right.
We can't even have the simplest conversations. The moment somebody starts the conversation about race, immediately someone characterizes it, and then everybody can shut down and shut off.
Right.
We got to get past that. And I'm saying, as Christian people, I don't know how many people that are watching this are Christian. You may not all be Christian. But you know what? I'm talking to my Christian friends now. If you're a Christian, shame on you.
Right.
Shame on us.
Yes.
Shame on us for hiding behind
yes.
politics when Jesus tells us what we should be saying and what we should be doing. Jesus makes it clear. We've got to talk about these things. These are injustices that we cannot live with, and we got to make sure that we are standing up for the oppressed. That's what Jesus is doing when he came. That's what he did when he came. That's what we should be doing now as his church.
Yeah, and I feel like when you said that you guys had the conversation and you were sharing your experiences when it came to racism and stuff like that, I think that, sharing, people wanting to know those experiences.
Yeah.
The majority wanting to know and better understand where we as a people are coming from.
Yes.
Because I don't think you can ever understand it if you've never been in it,
Right.
you're not going to really be able to fully understand.
Yes.
But
And so the majority has to start by listening.
That's what I'm saying. Start by listening and start by opening your heart to understand rather than coming in a defensive way or in a I'm tired of y'all talking about this way. Because, be honest with you, I have been around people who have said that.
Yeah.
Those words, I am
brother,
tired.
I'm tired of talking about
here
this.
we go again,
Yes,
and I'm
right.
tired of talking about this. But
Right.
the reason why we have to continue to bring it up is because it's not.
We've never talked about it.
We've never really talked about it.
We've never dealt with it.
And if you're coming with an attitude of here we go again, here they go again, I'm tired of talking about this, then that's not a heart of wanting understanding. That's
Right.
not a heart that says, I really want to get to the root of why things are the way they are in their culture.
Right.
Why do they feel so strongly about this, that, and the other?
Yes.
Because you can't feel it if you haven't been in it.
Yes.
You know what
That's
I mean?
very true.
And I would want to know, how have you been hurt?
Yes.
Not how have I hurt you as a person,
Right.
because I haven't hurt you as a person.
Right.
But some people
Yeah.
take it personally because maybe their ancestors have done things or whatever. But that doesn't mean that you have. And you
Right.
can change those things. And
Yes.
I feel like I really believe that some of my generation that are white have actually taught the next generation to continue this cycle of putting blacks and other races in these categories. I hate to say that, but I see it. And if we don't stop by teaching our children what we should be thinking and
Right.
how we should be respecting other people for who they are,
Yes.
I think it'll never end.
That's true.
As long as we continue this cycle by teaching our children
Yes.
the wrong things, or
Yes.
sometimes we teach them by the way we act. We don't
Right.
even know we're teaching it.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? We're
Yes.
teaching it by the way that we are.
It's implicitly taught. It's not explicitly taught.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's an implicit teaching.
Yes. So sometimes we say the words, but other times we just by our actions show that certain people are not worth our attention. They're not
Right.
worth our time. They're not
Right.
worth. They're not necessarily on the same level as other people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you know about this, but the TBN. I guess he's the TBN pastor. I really don't know. Isn't it called TBN?
Yes, that's the network. Yeah.
I don't know if he's the main guy or whatever because I don't really watch them. I don't really know much about TBN. But this guy asked Kirk Franklin to come on to discuss, Kirk Franklin and another pastor and another white pastor. So it was 2 white pastors and 2 black pastors basically.
Yes.
And they were discussing the issues that are in the church, racial issues in the church, which I don't even think we should be saying.
Right.
Church should be
we
a
should
place.
be able to say that's one place where we don't have that. But
Right.
but the reality is the church is filled with human beings, so
Exactly.
you're always
And
going to
I-
have problems.
and that's true, and I
But
know that.
But I see what you're
wish,
saying.
I'm saying.
I wish it too.
That it was
That was
us.
Martin Luther King's dream.
It was his dream.
Yeah.
And, it would be nice if it was the church fighting against the world and
Right.
trying to teach
Yes.
the world not
Yes.
to,
Yes. Yeah.
be that way.
Yeah.
But anyway, they had a very deep conversation. It was really good because, and there were some things about it that were, you could tell that there was an understanding that was trying to be had. You know what I mean? But I feel like just the beginning of a conversation.
You're saying some ignorant things were said, maybe, or offensive in some ways.
Well, not blatantly, and
Yes,
I,
not on
and again,
purpose or anything like
yeah,
that.
not like that. But
Yeah.
of course,
But clearly there
but
was an attitude where people were trying to understand each other.
trying to understand,
Yes.
and trying to figure out what don't I know? What am
Right.
I doing wrong?
Right.
What I don't,
Right.
And I feel like if you don't have that spirit,
Yeah.
if you can't come with that attitude,
Yeah.
please explain to me what we as a people are doing wrong,
Right,
or
right.
So that I can understand better. And I
Right.
mean, it's just about knowing. I
Yes.
feel like if you know, then you can kind of say, okay, I get it now.
Right.
Let me work on this, or let me
Yes.
figure out what we can do to make others feel better because we don't mean it this way or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And I mean,
Yeah.
if I had people come to my house
Yeah.
and they felt offended in some way, I would want to know
What did I do?
am I doing wrong?
Yeah.
So that the next time you come,
You don't do that
or
again.
anybody else comes,
Yeah.
I can correct that.
And maybe what you did was culturally offensive, and what you did was perfectly fine in your own culture, and you had no idea. You didn't mean to offend them.
Exactly. And you know what I
Yeah.
find though? We
Yeah.
can try to make everyone feel respected
Yes.
and special
Yes.
and worth something.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I agree. So here's what I want to say before we go to our word of the day, and that is that every racial movement, every successful one, every successful move from one place to another racially in this country has always had powerful and influential white people involved
True.
because they're part of the majority group.
Right.
So what I'm saying is we as black people can do what we're doing right now, and we do it all the time. We organize, we discuss, we talk, we agonize, we pray, we cry, we teach our kids, we read the Bible, we come together in groups and pray, we have marches and all kinds of things. But there's only so much that is going to do because we're not part of the majority group. The majority group has to buy into and adopt the same attitude that Jesus Christ had
Yes.
for those who are oppressed.
That's it.
And once that happens, this will go away.
Yeah. Yeah.
But before that can happen, we have to be able to have a real discussion about it so that we have an understanding of why we're feeling the way that we are and why things we believe are the way that they are.
Yes.
That's what has to happen. It starts there.
It does.
And I believe it can grow from there. But if we're intent on really being one, it's in our one nation under God and one nation. If we really care about that, if we really care about oneness as Christians, being one in Christ Jesus, then we will stop at nothing until we have oneness. It's going to mean uncomfortable conversations. It's going to mean uncomfortable circumstances. But the only way to get there is to be we have to recklessly abandon everything toward that.
Yes.
It's the original sin of this country.
It is.
Racism.
It is.
And we can't act like we're beyond it. We're not beyond it, y'all.
No, we're
If you need
not.
proof, I'll give you some names. Trayvon Martin, Ahmaud Arbery, Eric Gardner, Freddie Gray. You know what I'm saying? Rodney King.
Let's take it back.
Yeah, 1993.
Emmett Till.
Emmett Till.
Let's take it way back.
Yeah.
And
It's not gone. It's the same
it's
basic
the same
attitude
thing.
that has prevailed all the way through to now. And the only way it's going to stop is if we speak up and speak out against it. We have to. Got to do it. What's our word of the day, babe?
Guys, our word of the day is justice.
Justice. You knew that already. We said it many times.
Yes, and we decided to just stick with that word because
Yeah.
the definition is so powerful.
Listen to this definition.
Okay? Justice. A concern for justice, peace, and genuine respect for people.
That's what it means.
That's it.
Simple definition.
You know, we bleed the same red blood.
That's it.
We go to the bathroom.
Yep.
We cry.
Yep. When somebody dies, we cry.
You know what I mean? Like, we laugh.
Yep.
You know.
Something is funny, we laugh whether you're black or white. Somebody dies in your family, you cry whether you're black or white.
Right.
Doesn't matter. No
Doesn't
matter what
race you are.
No matter how old you are.
No
You know
matter
what I'm
how
saying?
old you are.
You can be Asian, you can be Hispanic. It doesn't really matter.
It doesn't matter.
It's all the same when it really comes down to it. We don't have nearly as much that separates us as we think. But if we all just cared more about justice.
Yes. You know.
A genuine respect for
justice,
people.
Genuine respect.
Caring when somebody is wronged that we make it right.
Yes.
That's what it's about.
It is.
Anyway, we like to bring joy to your life with our episodes, and we know we probably didn't do much of that tonight.
But we had to speak about
We
this.
did. We couldn't
could
let this
not
go.
let this go.
We
No.
couldn't. And we got a couple of, semi-laughs in.
Did we?
Not really. Just give you a nice one at the end. We love you guys.
Love you.
Thanks for riding with us.
Yes.
We hope you heard us out tonight, and we may lose some subscribers over this. I don't know.
I don't know.
But you know what?
This doesn't matter. You know, it does not
matter, man.
matter. And I want that to be the message.
Yeah.
Who cares what, you feel like people will see you as? You have to say what is true.
It's wrong. It's wrong. That's
It's
it.
wrong.
Bottom line.
And if you watch those videos, if you
Yep.
watch the videos
Yep.
of Ahmaud
Yep.
and George, you will
Yep.
see that it was just unfair, and they did not need to lose their lives.
They did not deserve
They
that.
did not deserve to lose their lives.
So let's be the change, y'all. It starts with us.
It does.
If you don't think it does, it does. All the major changes in our world have happened at grassroots level. We can do it one person at a time. Starts by just speaking up. Hope you do that. God bless.
You know you want something more. There's a look in your eyes revealing what your life ought to have in store. Is there something that you've been missing? Something you wanna say? Oh, don't you feel you could just cry out? There's gotta be a better way.
There's got to be a better way than the way that you're living today. Gotta be somebody to say everything gonna be alright.
That's right.
There's gonna be a better day. I can feel it when I pray.
When I pray.
Trouble's gonna pass away. Everything gonna